Welcome everybody, first garden tour of the big garden. I did try one live, but I don't really get good connection out here in the country, so I will be shooting them like this now. Here's our pond with the beautiful lilies flowering. This is really pretty to listen to while I was watering this morning, which you can see right there is our watering. It's been 90 for almost 20 days now and very little rain, so this is our very first time watering the main gardens. So we do have two sites. Here's a raised bed. All the wood is taken from the woods that you see behind, and all the soil is also taken from the woods. All done with wheelbarrows and pretty much manual. And then our other garden bed, this one's been set up for probably 4 or 5 years. Very heavy clay. We did go ahead and in the aisles we dug out a bunch of soil, threw it up on top of the grow beds, and then buried wood and wood chips in all of the walkways to help eventually break down the soil and get better soil for the rest of the garden. So that's the entirety of that garden, and I'm not sure if you can tell, the raised bed gardens are doing far better, and I think it would have to do with not only the raised bed but the soil quality. So let's go and walk through this one first. Here you can see we've got tomatoes coming up. They're waist high roughly right now. Lots of flowers and blooms. We got chamomile, jalapeno peppers. Those are all zucchini, or not zucchini, cucumbers, excuse me. So we have 3 different varieties of cucumbers. I want to say this is some sort of Japanese cucumber. This is a punakira cucumber. Along the back, we've got onions because it gets shaded out very fast there. They seem to be doing good. And then the potatoes, which also get shaded out fairly quickly. And those are doing really, really good. Here's the zucchini. And you can see just how many blossoms are on that zucchini. We got watermelon here. We got another watermelon right there. Here's a pepper plant. I honestly have not had peppers that were this big in the last 4 to 5 years. Now, when I first started gardening, for the first 5-6 years of my gardening experience, I was on all sand. And then that house got sold and we moved to, well, my parents, and I just use it because it's got a lot of land, but it got moved to all clay, lowland clay. It's very heavy, stays wet often, which is why I decided to build these raised beds. That, I believe, is a cantaloupe. Here are these pickle bush cucumbers. These things have been blowing me away this year. I don't know honestly if they're hybrid or what they are. I guess I gotta get my fat hands out of the way. But there's just a ton of, here's another one with a comfrey growing in it. So I like to leave things grow a little bit wild. I pull some things. Most of the stuff I leave in, I find it's gotta be beneficial, not only for the roots exchanging and working together, but for bringing in pollinator bugs. There's just a ton of flowers on those bush cucumbers. So there's another tomato plant that's roughly waist high. Here's just chicken wire filled with soil from the forest. And the peppers are doing pretty good. There's another one. And while we're back here, we've got beans. Now something's been eating this bed. So there was 3 rows of beans and then 2 rows of onions in each one. Here we got squash already forming. Let's see. So here's a bean plant or bean bed that's doing a whole lot better. As you can see, our friends, we were pulling hundreds of these guys off a day last year. This year we're getting about 4 or 5 dozen a day. But if I show you, I do believe there's some out here yet. Oh, here they are. Ugh. Shadows, got to get better at that. Well, we've got some really nice, pull that thing out of there. We've got some really nice bush beans starting already. Our pole beans took forever to get going. I had to plant those probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. It was a lot. Here's more potatoes. We got some squash growing up over there. More potatoes. And then more squash as well here. Now most of these I believe are kukuzi, and I might be pronouncing that wrong. They get a big long neck, kind of look like swan gourds. I do believe I've got one on too. Some more watermelon. We have not had melons be able to grow. Seasons have been too cold, the soil's too wet and heavy, I believe. But in these raised beds, they are doing fantastic. I wanted to say, oh yeah, here it is. So there's a kukuzi squash. And then first time ever growing, oh, sorry guys. First time ever growing the artichokes. Not sure, I thought those got a lot bigger. I'm not sure if they're just taking a while, but they do look pretty good. So let's head into the garden. Give me just a second to undo the gate. All right. And everything seems 10 times harder too when you're trying to record. So here's our raised bed. On the end here, we like to do all our root crops in here and our peas. They only got about half as tall this year because it was cold and then turned to hot right away. And it was like way too cold. There was no spraying basically. But you can see we've got a decent amount of peas maybe. Maybe you can't. We got a decent amount of peas, but I was expecting all snap peas, and these happen to be all shelling peas of some sort. We got a wildly planted sunflower that's sitting in there, and then carrots. And we had a bunch of lettuce in right before the carrots, and now the carrots are coming up. Kohlrabi doing good. There's supposed to be another row of carrots along the kohlrabi. Gonna have to replant that. More peas, mostly shelling. And then we got beets. A whole lot more peas. Ew. I think due to the hot, even the shelling peas are really fibrous on the inside and not that good. We'll make soup or something out of them, hopefully. Now this is a blast corn or something like that. I'm hoping to get strawberries as a ground cover in most of my grow beds here. And then whenever I want to plant in there, come springtime, I'm just going to rip out a little patch of strawberries and plant because there'll be plenty more around. And I hope that that provides a wonderful ground cover. Here's another zucchini plant. You can see we've got a decent one on there. Lots of flowers. Here's garlic. And if you look, we've got pole beans. We had to replant. This is probably the 5th time replanting that little section. Anyone know what that is? I left it not only because we use it for medicinal reasons, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful plant, and probably one of the biggest ones I've ever seen. It's mullein, tomato, whatever you want to say. So the pole beans here are just finally starting to grow up. I noticed most of them wanted to grab the garlic. I find that kind of funny. We've got a nice raspberry patch here that's finally looking good. It took a long time for that to start looking good. And I can't wait to fill in the rest of that with Jerusalem artichokes. Here we like to just throw in random stuff. So we got kohlrabi there. And then cucumbers. Look at the difference on these cucumber plants. These ones too have had to been planted like 3-4 times. And then in between the cucumbers, because they will grow on this, let me show you. The cucumbers are meant to grow on this A-frame with the panels against it, and then the cabbage will stay nice and low to the ground. We try to intermingle or intercrop a lot of stuff. You know, we use stuff for ground cover protection to cool the ground or keep it moist, while we try to grow things up as well. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, attracting all sorts of insects, and never allow monocropping. Let's see if we can get inside. These domes are protecting the cucumbers and giving them heat. Here's the garlic I planted with a an auger and a little PVC chute. Never had to bend over. The stuff always looks good. It's about a week or 2 away from being pulled out of the ground and replaced with brassicas. Brassicas? I don't know. So here are bush style tomato plants. These are doing pretty good. We amend all the soil here too with crustacean meal and wood ash and malted barley. That's our favorite. Here's our indeterminate tomato crop. We interplant our tomatoes with basil and zinnias and other flowering plants to attract. There you can see a marigold. So that's all to attract pollinators. Here's our pepper roll. Now these things went in looking that big, and they're just finally starting to green up. They took a really long time to transition. Weather's been nuts. Some of them I threw some wood ash down, because a lot of times when things aren't taking off, it's potassium holding things up. And I just did that the other day, so new growth, we'll find out next week or 2 weeks what things are looking like. There's an elephant ear my brother threw in. Potato row. These are blue or purple potatoes, I do believe. Those are looking good. And then we got our squash row. And here again, now we're using the squash as a ground cover to keep things cool and moist. And then intercropping with broccoli and cabbage or cauliflower probably. Things that will get taller and therefore grow above the cucumbers or the squash plants here. And if they try to grow up the plants, we just pull them down. We even got zinnias. And look at that, it looks like we do have a cabbage planted in there. And then here's our more wild patch where we've in the past just done vine crops. So we've got popcorn in here. It's not looking that great. Not exactly sure why. Could be drought, could be numerous things, but not too worried about it. Mostly because You can see that hoop house frame over there. We've got lots of popcorn in there. Amaranth, soybeans, pretty much a whole grain plot. So here we got pumpkins. Eventually here, pretty soon, in a couple weeks, I'll be planting in broccoli and cauliflower into this patch too. But these are mostly all white pumpkins because we saved seeds about 5 years ago when my sister got married. And she had white pumpkins at her wedding, so we saved them, saved the seed, and I've been planting mostly white pumpkins. And then we've got potatoes in here. And right there you might see we got different mulch coverings. So all the coverings here are pine needles. We've been doing that for 4 or 5 years. The pine needles come right from the property. We've got lots of pine trees and we can rake out underneath that what we need. Seems to keep up year to year. But you can see we also used some of our comfrey. It was done flowering. And when it's done flowering, then I feel like the bees don't really use it. Cut it down and use it what it's good for, which was a chop and drop, which I'm hoping to have this whole border solid comfrey at some point so that we can start using that instead of the pine needles. And there's a voluntary blackberry, raspberry patch, something to that effect, but that's got to get out of here as well. So there you have it. First garden tour. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to know more about, anything else you'd like to see. I'm going to be trying to keep up with bi-weekly updates between this one and my container garden, which is actually at my house. And then maybe I can do a few tours of the community garden too, which is also in town. But thanks for watching, guys. We'll end it on the ducks. These were all hatched out by my brother. And they're beautiful ducks. Not only are they pretty, but they have this like coordinated laughing sound that they make, and it's just hilarious. Anyways, take care, guys. Thanks again. Bye.